There's a moment most men never notice. But once retention sharpens you, it becomes impossible to ignore. It's the way you move, not your posture alone, not your clothes, not your confidence talk, the tempo of your body, the economy of your gestures, the absence of rush. That's the difference between a king and a peasant. A peasant moves like he's being chased by life. A king moves like life is waiting on him. Retention is what rewires this. Before retention, movement is reactive. You walk fast to compensate for insecurity. You talk with your hands to convince. You shift weight, adjust posture, fidget, oversmile, all unconscious attempts to signal safety, value, relevance. I know this because I used to do it. There was a time I'd enter rooms already negotiating my place in them. My body spoke before my mouth ever did. Small, quick movements, eyes scanning for approval, energy slightly leaking forward like I was asking permission to exist. Retention exposed that lie brutally. The first weeks weren't empowering. They were awkward. My body didn't know how to move without the familiar itch of release. Muscles felt loaded. Stillness felt loud. Every unnecessary movement suddenly felt obvious and embarrassing. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. Most men don't move intentionally. They move to discharge anxiety. Retention removes that outlet, so the body is forced to confront itself. When sexual energy isn't drained, it sinks downward and inward. It thickens your center of gravity. Your walk slows not because you're trying to look calm, but because speed feels wasteful. You stop bouncing through space. You occupy it. This is why retained men are often described as grounded without doing anything special. Their nervous system isn't scrambling for relief. Their energy isn't escaping through motion. A king doesn't rush because rushing signals lack of time, lack of control, lack of certainty. Retention eliminates inner lack, so outer movement follows. You start taking fewer steps, but each one lands heavier. Your shoulders settle naturally. Your head doesn't jut forward. Your gaze doesn't dart. Not because you memorized body language tricks, but because your system is no longer fragmented. There's a psychological shift here most people miss. When you constantly release, your body lives in a cycle of spike and drop. Desire, pursuit, release, emptiness. That emptiness creates urgency. Urgency creates hurried movement. Retention breaks that cycle. Energy stays stored. Stored energy creates patience. Patience creates authority. This is why high-status men across history were described as still, measured, unmoved. It wasn't fashion. It wasn't etiquette. It was containment. A peasant gestures to be understood. A king waits to be asked. Retention trains that waiting at a cellular level. I remember standing in line one day during this phase, surrounded by restless bodies, foot tapping, phones unlocking every few seconds, micro adjustments, sighs, and I felt planted, almost rooted. Nothing special was happening, but internally, there was no need to escape the moment. That's power, because once you stop trying to escape the present, your movements stop betraying you. Your hands stay still unless needed. Your steps are direct, not apologetic. Your turns are clean, not jittery. People feel this before they consciously register it. They don't think he's confident. They think he's different. Retention changes how long you pause before speaking. That pause alone shifts the hierarchy. Fast talkers are unconsciously submissive. They rush to fill silence so they don't lose attention. Retained men let silence work for them. That silence bleeds into movement. You don't overreact physically. You don't flinch at sudden noises. You don't lean in desperately. You don't retreat reflexively. Your body becomes a declaration. I'm not in a hurry. And here's the deeper truth. Kings move slowly because they're listening. Retention heightens perception. You start noticing details you used to miss. Facial micro-expressions, shifts in tone, energy changes in rooms. When you're perceiving more, you move less. Peasants move fast because they're blind. Kings move slow because they see. This isn't about dominance posturing. It's about internal order expressing itself externally. When desire is mastered, motion becomes deliberate. Every unnecessary movement feels like static. And once you feel that, you can't unfeel it. You start pruning behaviors. You stop pacing while thinking. You stop nodding excessively. You stop touching your face mid-conversation. Not because you're controlling yourself, but because your body no longer needs to signal insecurity. Retention doesn't make you rigid. It makes you efficient. Efficiency is royal. There's also a subtle aggression in contained movement, not violence. Potential, like a coiled spring. People sense that something could happen, even if it doesn't. That's why retained men feel dangerous without acting dangerous. This is only the first phase, though. Part 1 is about noticing how retention strips away nervous motion and replaces it with grounded presence. In the next phase, that presence turns into command, not just how you move alone, but how others begin adjusting around you. And if this work resonates, if these transmissions help you refine something ancient inside yourself, there are quiet ways to keep this path alive, ways that support without noise, without begging, without distraction, because kings don't announce support. They reinforce what matters. And move on. Part 2. The second shift happens when you realize your movement no longer belongs only to you. Other people start adjusting, not consciously, not dramatically, subtly. Chairs turn toward you. Conversations slow when you enter. Someone stops mid-sentence, recalibrates, then continues with more care. It's not respect yet. It's orientation. Retention doesn't just change how you move through space. It changes how space responds to you. This is where kingship separates from solitude. In the first phase, you stop bleeding energy through nervous motion. In this phase, that stored energy begins exerting pressure outward, not force, gravity. I noticed it during a meeting I had no intention of leading. I sat back, spine relaxed, feet planted, hands still. I wasn't trying to dominate. I wasn't trying to impress. I was simply present, fully inside my body. And slowly, the room tilted. People spoke to me instead of past me. They waited for my reaction before continuing. When I finally spoke, the tempo of the room shifted to match mine. That's when it became clear. Movement is communication, and retention cleans the signal. Most men's bodies are broadcasting mixed messages. Their words say confidence, but their movements say hunger. Their posture says strength, but their timing says fear. Retention removes that contradiction. Your body and your intent start saying the same thing. That coherence is rare, and rare things reorganize environments. A king doesn't need to assert control because his internal order creates external alignment. Others subconsciously sense that you're not available for chaos, so they bring you clarity. This is also where impatience dies. Before retention, impatience lives in the legs, the hands, the jaw. You shift because waiting feels threatening. Stillness feels like vulnerability. But when sexual energy is retained long enough, waiting becomes comfortable. You don't lean forward anymore. You lean back, and leaning back is a power move not because it's taught, but because it signals surplus. Only men with internal surplus can afford to wait. You stop interrupting physically and verbally. You let people finish. You let silence stretch. And in that stretch, truth often leaks out. Retention makes you a better listener not through empathy, but through containment. You're not rushing to respond because you're not leaking pressure. You're holding it. This is where peasant energy collapses around you. Peasant energy is frantic. It needs to be seen. It needs to be validated. It needs reaction. When it meets someone who doesn't mirror that urgency, it either calms down or exposes itself. Both outcomes favor you. Another shift happens here. Your movements become predictive instead of reactive. You don't flinch first. You don't step aside unnecessarily. You don't preemptively apologize with your body. You wait. You observe. Then you move once. That single movement often carries more authority than 10 anxious ones ever could. Retention also sharpens spatial awareness. You start taking up exactly the amount of space you need. No more, no less. You don't shrink. You don't sprawl. You fit. That fitting is powerful. Men who sprawl are compensating. Men who shrink are submitting. Men who fit are in command. There's a moment during this phase where you feel almost slow, not physically slow, internally unhurried, and you might worry others will interpret it as laziness or disinterest. They won't. They'll interpret it as certainty, because certainty doesn't rush. This is also where intimidation begins. Unintentionally, some people feel uneasy around you, not because you're aggressive, but because you're no longer predictable. Your movements aren't broadcasting needs. There's nothing to hook into. You don't chase rhythm. You set it. And that unsettles men who live off external cues. Retention removes your dependency on being mirrored. You no longer adjust yourself to keep others comfortable. You move when it's correct, not when it's convenient. That's leadership. I remember someone once telling me, half joking, "You move like you already decided how this ends." They didn't mean strategy. They meant presence. That's the retained walk. It's not stiff. It's not dramatic. It's resolved. Your steps don't ask questions. Your turns don't hesitate. Even when you don't know the outcome, your body doesn't beg the future for reassurance. This phase teaches you something vital. Authority is felt through timing, not volume. You don't need to arrive loudly. You arrive completely, and completeness changes the room's temperature. By now, your movements are no longer habits. They're expressions of an internal hierarchy where impulse answers to intention, where desire answers to discipline, and that hierarchy is visible. People don't call it retention. They don't call it presence. They call it something about you. In the final phase, movement transcends reaction and influence altogether. You stop moving with the world or against it, and start moving independently of it. That's where kings are born. And if these transmissions help sharpen that edge, refine that gravity, and protect that inner surplus, there are quiet ways to reinforce the work, ways that respect the path instead of cheapening it. Because real support doesn't interrupt momentum, it strengthens it and steps aside. Part 3. The final transformation is when movement stops being a response at all. You no longer move because something happens. You move because it's time. This is the difference between authority and dominance. Dominance reacts to threat. Authority operates on internal schedule. Retention burns this rhythm into your nervous system. By now, your body doesn't ask the room for permission. It doesn't scan for approval. It doesn't brace for resistance. It simply proceeds. That's kingship. A king doesn't hurry when challenged. He doesn't speed up when watched. He doesn't slow down when doubted. His pace is decided before anyone else enters the equation. Retention makes that possible because it removes the last invisible leash. Emotional reactivity. Peasant movement is emotional. Kingly movement is deliberate. You can see it in how men walk into doors, how they sit down, how they stand up, Most men rush transitions. They fling themselves from one state to another because being in between feels unsafe. Retention teaches you to inhabit transitions. You don't collapse into a chair. You arrive, pause, then sit. You don't spring up to speak. You wait, then rise. You don't rush exits. You conclude them. This creates an unsettling effect on others, not because you're intimidating, but because you're not readable. Your body no longer leaks intent before action. There's a brief silence between decision and execution. That silence is power. I felt this most clearly one night walking alone through a crowded area. Normally, I would subtly adjust, avoid eye contact, angle my shoulders, soften my stride. That night, nothing adjusted, not out of bravado, out of neutrality. I walked straight, shoulders loose, jaw relaxed, eyes level, and people moved, not dramatically, just enough. That's when it hit me. Respect is often pre-verbal. It's negotiated through micro movements before words are exchanged. Retention cleans those negotiations. You stop negotiating your right to exist. Another shift happens here. Your reactions shrink. You don't flinch at sudden noise. You don't tense when challenged. You don't overcorrect when misunderstood. Your body trusts itself enough to stay calm while the world fidgets. This is where true fearlessness appears. Not the aggressive kind, but the grounded kind. Fearlessness rooted in self-containment. Men who haven't retained rely on adrenaline to feel alive. Retained men rely on steadiness. Adrenaline is loud. Steadiness is commanding. This phase also reveals something uncomfortable. How many people are addicted to chaos? Some will try to provoke you, interrupt you, rush you, test your timing. They want to see if they can drag you back into reactive rhythm. You don't resist them. You let them burn themselves out. That's the king's advantage. He doesn't fight entropy. He outlasts it. Retention gives you endurance at the level of identity. You're no longer exhausted by being yourself. There's no constant self-monitoring, no self-editing. Your movements are not performed. They're expressed. This is when your presence becomes unmistakable, not because you demand attention, but because attention reorganizes around you. Conversations pause when you shift. People wait when you don't rush. You don't take center stage. The stage forms around you. That's the difference. Peasants try to be seen. Kings allow themselves to be felt. And felt presence cannot be faked. It emerges only when desire stops hijacking the body. Retention doesn't make you rigid. It makes you precise. You can move fast when needed, but speed is chosen, not compulsive. You can be playful, but it's grounded. You can be dangerous, but it's controlled. Controlled danger is what men recognize instinctively. By now, your walk carries memory. Your stillness carries weight. Even when you say nothing, your body says, "This man is not starving." And starvation is the root of peasant behavior. Starving for validation, starving for release, starving for reaction. Retention ends the hunger. What replaces it is surplus. Surplus energy doesn't beg. It doesn't posture. It doesn't chase. It allocates. That allocation shows in how you choose when to move and when to remain still. Stillness becomes a tool, not a weakness. Silence becomes communicative. Delay becomes strategic. This is the final distinction between kings and peasants. Peasants move to survive the moment. Kings move to shape the future. And once your body understands that difference, it never forgets. If this transmission sharpened your sense of timing, your relationship to space, your command over motion, there are quiet ways to keep this work alive. Ways that don't break rhythm or cheapen discipline. Support that feels like alignment, not obligation. Those paths are there for men who move with intention and know when to eye.